Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, man, what's going on? You're muted. It's off to a good start. We're off to a great start. It's off. Man,
It's off.
all right, let's try again. How are you, sir?
Well, it has been a crazy few days. I spent the weekend up with you guys up in Spokane on Saturday and Sunday, and then trying to help Pop get the roof done. And so spending a lot of time on the roof and not a roofer, so a little on the sore side.
Yeah, I just put together bunk beds at a house, so I get it. Especially after the long weekend, for sure. Big show once again. We're going to focus on Major League Baseball for most of the first hour because that's the main sport that is going on. Second half is absolutely jam packed. We got the sports related draft, which is NFL themed this week. Going on with the NFL theme, we got the top 5 running backs going into the season, and we have a ton of NFL news because a lot of different contracts got signed as training camps start to get underway for all 32 teams. We should have Sean Garmer on in the second hour to talk about the Women's World Cup. Robert and I were both out of town over the weekend, so we will be playing catch up with that tournament, and we'll have Sean on to kind of tell us all about that. And of course, Aussie Rules Football, PGA, NASCAR, all the other stuff near the end of the hour. But let's start with what Robert and I were up at in Spokane this weekend. It was the PGA Regional up there in Spokane, and let's just say it kicked our ass. Straight up, was very difficult for us. It's a very long pattern that they have, and I don't have the rev rate to really have a fantastic shot early. I was happy overall with how I was bowling at first. It kind of fell off a little bit, and so did my thumb. But before then, I'm really happy. I was perfect on single pin spares the entire 8 games. Went 7 for 7 on 10 pins. Made a couple of splits. Just couldn't strike. I couldn't throw strikes, and when I did, I could not throw them consistently. My best chance of having a great game, I threw 6 strikes in a 7th frame period, but threw a split in between and kind of ruined all of that. So I did hit my goal. I guaranteed to beat 2 people. I beat 11. So I'm happy with that. I did finish 3rd out of the 4 of us that went up there to bowl. None of us really did great. Congratulations to Peyton Stumpf for winning the overall tournament. Robert, I don't know if you watched the video of the championship match, but Cameron Weir had this thing won, needed a mark in the 10th frame, and threw a pocket 7-10 split to end up costing himself the championship belt. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
I have not seen it yet. Tony and I were talking about it a little bit. I was on my way back home from Spokane. Didn't go back. Jim and I didn't go back and watch any of Sunday's things, and so didn't have a chance to watch the clip. But Tony and I talked a little bit about it, and he said, I mean, it was a brutal shot. And it's like I told Denise once I looked at the prize fund, that was a $700 swing with a missing shot. And, you know, we talk about margins of error, and this guy was on, and then all of a sudden up pops one bad shot at the wrong time and cost him, you know, the title and $700. But, you know, take nothing away from Shemp. He takes home his first PBA regional title. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for the most part, just to experience all of that, whether the bowling was good or bad. I had a lot of fun. I had a senior bowler on my pair named Sean Hornberger, who had made the match play portion of the seniors event the day before, and then ended up finishing 3rd in this event. He was just on all 8 games, and it was a lot of fun to kind of watch him. Felt bad for another guy I was bowling with, Zach Stone. Struggled the last game, ended up missing the cut by 4 pins. Stoned a couple 9 pins and 8 pins and stuff that last game. It was really, really, really brutal to watch. But in the end, it's a good experience. Excited to do more stuff like this. Hopefully get a little bit better But
It,
hey, I hit my goal. I beat more than 2 people.
yeah, it was good to watch and fun to watch. Go up there and Jim and I sat there along with Nikki and Teresa and your mom and stepdad up there and Tony's family up there. So we got to you guys had a pretty good crowd
Yeah.
watching you guys, and even a couple of Baker City people that knew that I was going to be there stopped to watch you guys bowl for a little bit, which was cool. So but looking at everybody that had bowled the tournament, it was an unbelievable group of uh, the 80 bowlers that were there. It was just crazy to see. Saw some really good friends, met a few new people, and let's get the one out of the way right now. And I actually showed Denise this, but I had a funny watching Tony bowl. Tony bowled the morning squad, and he bowled next to a gentleman by the name of Tim Cagle.
Yes.
Let me tell you, his bowling style is unique. We will put it that way. Denise and I showed Denise a video of his of how he bowled. He has a very unique style to his game. Whether you're two-handed bowler, one-handed bowler, whatever, it was quite the bowling style.
Yeah, it looks like he's playing Street Fighter when he bowls. Very nice guy. Had a lot of fun. We have a fantastic video that Haley took of Tony bowling, and Tim was just barely in the shot, and he got ready to go down the stairs, saw that she was recording something, stayed out of the way because he does his own YouTube stuff too, so he understands the importance of that. And in the moment Tony got a strike on that ball, he turned around and gave a thumbs up. That video was great. For anybody that's never seen him before, this is his shot, and he is super consistent with it. Like, you just think he's just joking around, but he just runs up and just pushes the ball forward and does a really good job. He did not make the cut either. Again, there was a lot of people that really struggled with the event, but definitely somebody that you just can't help but watch when he is up there. Whether he is doing well or not. It just shows you that it doesn't really matter how you're throwing it as long as you're consistent and hitting the pocket.
And it didn't matter either who it was he was talking to. He was roaming around, chatting with everybody, spectators as well as people that he was bowling in different places. Yeah, wow. Wow's an understatement. If you really want to check it out, check out his YouTube page. It is Tim Cagle the second. I think it's Tim Cagle II. Go and watch some of his stuff. I watched his doubles tournament that he did about 3 weeks ago with a guy down in, I believe they were in California, but watching him do it was unbelievable. So
hey, Robert. Yeah, and I'm curious if he's going to post this regional or not. Again, he struggled a little bit. I did see him recording and kind of talking to the camera through a couple of the games, but as he struggled on, the camera kind of disappeared. And I only stuck around for the first 4, but of that first squad. But we'll see if he posts a video of the Spokane Regional or not. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into some Major League Baseball. As again, we are 1 week away now from the MLB trade deadline. Oh yeah, another guy signs a big contract, and you just have to bring up Mahomes. It's tiresome and old, and no one cares. Speaking of contracts, by the way, nobody gave us an answer to our pre-show trivia. So I'm going to hide it real quick and take off pre-show. There we go. Still looking for an answer down here to our trivia question. We're going to try to do this every week now. We try to go live a few minutes before the start of the show, just so everyone can kind of get settled in. And we'll let you guys answer a trivia question. Nothing is on the line. We're a poor college radio show that's not on the radio at the moment because we're out of season, but we'll have a little bit of fun with it. Maybe we could get Brooke to give us some giveaways down the line. Start having Danny give us some trivia as far as LC stuff. We'll see how things go. It does seem like we're going to have Alicia on the show next week between her crazy trips. As long as we promise not to make fun of Shohei Ohtani trades, if that happens, and Robert is right, it is the rookie Bijan Robinson with his big signing bonus that goes into effect with his contract this year. It's the rookie that is your highest paid running back. Again, running backs, that position completely devalued and ruined. Nobody's making money there. We see that with Saquon Barkley. We'll talk about that in the second hour. Let's get into baseball again. Trade deadline is within a week. We still haven't gotten any big trades going on just yet, but some smaller ones trickling in. You got to expect as we get closer to the deadline next Tuesday, we'll see some moves. But let's go ahead and kind of look at where the standings are right now. And some movement, not a ton in the American League. The big move, and Denny has been very busy this summer, so he hasn't been able to come on and crow about it, is the Baltimore Orioles passing the Tampa Bay Rays. They are now the leader in the AL East. Robert, any thoughts on what the Orioles have been doing? And I'll be right back.
Listen, it's still crazy to me to see how much they have been able to move up in the standings because of the injuries they've had. Cedric Mullins hurt on the IL, and then another big one with going to the IL is drawing a blank. Aaron Hicks yesterday, or this morning after the injury with the quad. So what this ball club is doing with the minor league teams, calling guys up for them to make a big push, it is huge. And so we talked a little bit about it last week with the farm system and what the farm systems for this ball club is doing. And I think that's just staying the course. But a lot depends on when they get Mullins back and when, Aaron Hicks on being hurt. It'll be extremely crucial to see if they can hold the line over the next couple of weeks.
Oh, the trivia question, Haley, since you were just listening, it was who is set to be the highest paid running back in the 2023 season, which was the rookie running back for the Falcons that Robert got. Again, it's something we're just post on there. Let you guys comment while we finish up the last little setup of our show before we go live. We'll see how it goes. It's just something else to throw on here. But no, I agree. Baltimore's been really, really impressive, and we really thought that they were going to take steps forwards, maybe not this big of steps, but I'm more shocked at just the decline of the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, nobody thought that they were going to stay on the run that they were at the beginning of the year, but they have really fallen off. And to the fact that the Yankees, I'm a Yankee fan. Oh, by the way, thank you, Robert, for getting me this hat while we were in Spokane. Had to rep it. The Yankees have been playing like complete dog manure, and they have gained ground on Tampa Bay in the last month. That's how bad the Rays have been playing. Obviously, give credit to Baltimore and what they are doing right now. The best record in the American League, just behind Atlanta as far as Major League Baseball goes. Also, give credit to Minnesota. They have really turned it up over the last couple of weeks. They have now pulled out to a 6.5 game lead over Cleveland. We thought that would be a fun pennant race coming down the stretch for that one playoff spot that would be available for that division. And all of a sudden, Minnesota looks like they're going to run away with it.
Yeah, we talked about it. I thought Kansas City was going to be up a little bit, being a little bit more of a person to choose. But Cleveland is the shocking one, below 500 by 2 games and just not able to get any big runs like they did last year. And we both picked Cleveland to be that team last year.
Yeah, Minnesota right now with a 5-2 lead over your Seattle Mariners. Just rub that in a little bit. The one race that could really be a lot of fun to watch is in the AL West, Texas and Houston. Houston getting healthier, starting to get things figured out. Texas going in the opposite direction. They lose Corey Seager for a little bit. Do you believe more in those stinking Astros or for the Rangers to hold out here the rest of the way?
I think it depends on what happens with the few guys that are still hurt in Houston. If they can get Altuve back here soon, that would be better. but Bregman finally starting to hit the ball. Jeremy Pena is doing a lot better. Um, the
Alvarez should be
closer
back any day
Alvarez
too.
should be back, yeah, and so Kyle Tucker could use a little extra help up there, but they're getting hot at the right time. We're I believe most of the ball clubs are 60 games out. So I mean, this is the push. This is
Mm-hmm.
when these teams have to make a huge run to either solidify them staying in first place or holding on. And right now uh, it's going to boil down to the AL West. I think it could be any of those guys. Oakland we know as well out, but we already know that we're probably going to see three teams out of the AL East. It just depends
Mm-hmm.
on where that other wild card team comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be both Houston and Texas making the playoffs. Could the Angels or Mariners make a run? We'll see. And again, it really comes down to what they do over this next week. As far as trades go, a lot of times teams turn things around when they get the correct pieces in. Listening to an interview with Aaron Boone on the John Boy YouTube page today, and he said this year could be very interesting as far as the deadline goes, where teams could be both buyers and sellers at the market. Sell a major league talent, but get a major league talent back in a different trade and just kind of rotate things around, just trying to find the correct pieces instead of just we're dumping all of our guys that we're not going to be able to re-sign or their contracts are coming up or we give up our farm system and just kind of moving around pieces. So it's going to be a different kind of a deadline than we've seen, and it makes it really interesting. It's going
And
to be a lot of fun.
I think you said the word last week, but I've also seen it a couple times reading articles yesterday. Is the term rental player? And then that's basically
Mm-hmm.
what it has become. And do we attach that term to Shohei Ohtani? Is he a rental player if he gets moved, or
Oh
any
yeah.
of these big names like Max Scherzer? If he gets moved, he's just a rental player for 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the trade deadline and what we expect. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks. We'll get to that soon. Look at the AL wild card right now, and that's where the movement's really going on, especially with Tampa Bay getting passed by Baltimore. They're in the wild card spot. Houston right now in the second wild card. Toronto's dropped down to third. But then you kind of have that group of teams that can they make this push or not? Boston looked like they had fallen out of it about a month ago. They've made a good resurgence. Right now, they're just 2.5 back. The Yankees just continue to step on their own feet right now. They're also 2.5 back. Then you have teams like the Angels, the Mariners, and the Guardians, where you look at their standings and they're technically not out of it, but they're not really doing anything on the field that makes you believe that they're a playoff team right now.
Yeah, 100%. Because you look at those ball clubs and you look at them on paper, they should be beating these teams, and it's just not happening. And so I think it's whoever stays the healthiest out of those five teams you just said is going to make that push. Now, with Boston giving up Kiki Hernandez today, could that be uh, a downward slope a little bit? Yes, they get two pitchers in the deal. Who knows? I mean, it just depends on, uh, you know, Los Angeles trying to bolster their lineup just a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting. But I think it's going to boil down to who's healthy. If Houston can stay healthy, I think the chances of that bumping up and Texas falling down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting. We still got about 2 months to go. National League, we can just skip the East, I think, at this point, especially with Miami finally kind of hitting the wall that they did over the last week. It's now an 11 and a half game lead for the Braves. We can move on there. It's a two-horse race in the Central still, Milwaukee in Cincinnati. It seems like every couple of weeks we put up this graphic and they have flip-flop positions. Chicago is making a bit of a push late, but I don't think that they'll be looking as far as the division title goes. Could sneak into a wild card, maybe, but you got to think it's going to be a fun one between Milwaukee and Cincinnati. And to me, the Dodgers for the first half of the year went, all right, we'll see if another team wants to take this division or not. No, nobody wants it. All right, we'll take it. Now that they have a 4-game lead, while It's not a huge lead right now. It just feels like no one's going to catch them.
Yeah, and with Arizona, cooling down over the last few games, I think that's a huge disappointment for them because they were out in front by, I want to say, what was it, 3 games at one point, 4 games at one point ahead of the Dodgers, and
Oh, it was
they're
more
just
than
fine.
that.
Was it that many? I think I remember most of the time seeing like 3 or 4 games ahead of them. So you know, but the thing about Arizona, they're still young and upcoming, but the Dodgers right now are built to win, and that's what they're trying to do.
Then in the wild card, it's a really fun race right now. Cincinnati has a half game lead for that top wild card spot. And then Arizona, Miami, and San Francisco are in a three-way tie for wild card spots 2 and 3. The other team would not make it in right now. Philadelphia just a half game back. So there are 5 teams within 1 game of each other for 3 spots here with about 2 months to go. And then you have teams like the Cubs, who are 5 games back, the Padres, who just can't get things rolling. They're 6 games back. Mets are here and there at 7. And then all of a sudden, St. Louis is turning things on. Everyone thought they were going to be sellers, and now they've been one of the best teams over the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're still 9 games out of it, but they've won, I want to say they've won like 7 of the last 9. They've really turned things around. Can any of those teams sneak in, or are we looking at a 5-team race for 3 spots?
Yeah, God, it'd be nice. You're pretty close. St. Louis, 7-3 over the last 10. So they're getting hot at the right time. But being down 11 games is tough. But Milwaukee has been that roller coaster team, and Cincinnati has gotten hot. Their youth, and De La Cruz, man, I'm watching more and more little clips and highlights of that kid. He's going to be the next. He could be the next thing, but they've also said the same thing with Julio Rodriguez. Rodriguez slowing things down, but this guy's impressive to watch.
Can I possibly hit control instead of shift more times while trying to quickly update these standings than I have in the last 30 seconds? I'm trying to update these as fast as I can, and I keep just bringing up the find function because I'm trying to put finals in, and I'm computer illiterate apparently when it comes to trying to get things done quickly and not have people notice that I am trying to do things on the side. It's not working. Nothing is working. Is there anyone else? I mean, you talked about St. Louis really pushing forward, but maybe they've run out of time. Do you have any faith in a Chicago, San Diego, or maybe even the Mets, who right now are dominating the Yankees?
The Cubs have been talking a lot about being sellers, and so they were going to be the ones that were going to, had the feeling of that they were going to be the team to pack it in right now and load a few of these guys. But now they have been on a 3-game win streak. They're finally starting to play. Pittsburgh was in that thing. And you asked us last week. The big question was, is this the division for the next couple of years? And I think with the young talent, it has to be. And we're starting to see little snippets of it right now of who could get hot at the right time and have that pitching and who's that star right now. Right now, in Milwaukee, it's somebody different just about every day. You look in Cincinnati and what De La Cruz is doing for that ball club. Chicago, Bellinger has turned it around a little bit for them guys. Been doing quite well. St. Louis, yes, they're a little bit older. Arenado, Goldschmidt, I thought they were going to be the Super Bowl. Now I'm getting a little bit of hope here.
Did you say the Cardinals were a Super Bowl favorite?
I think I did. I meant
football is on the brain.
I know. I was typing some football stuff, and I was excited about some of the stuff I had read today. But they were my World Series champions, so it's still 60 days. And you look at it. If you look at it this way, 60 games left, 11 games back. You've got to win. 3-1 over the next few games, the next 2 months.
Right. All right, let's look at your scoreboard as of right now. The Angels were dominating the Tigers. I felt really good about picking up Griffin Canning in fantasy baseball. It was looking great. And the closer gave up 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. They go into extras. Angels have scored so far. They lead 7-6 right now in the 10th inning. Orioles with a 3-2 lead over the Phillies. That's just a fun series. I watched a bit of the game yesterday. Rays took care of the Marlins 4-1. That game is all done. One that kind of got started a little bit late. Colorado with a 4-1 lead over the Nationals in the fourth. Mets all over the Yankees 7-2 in the eighth. Guardians got the win. Aaron Savali was fantastic, it looked like, as far as his stats went. He took care of the Royals 5-1. Another game that got started a little bit late. Boston with a 2-1 lead over Atlanta. That one in the second. Your Mariners getting beat up by the division-leading Minnesota Twins 5-2 in the sixth. Houston early up 2-0 over the Rangers in the sixth inning. What a huge series that is right now. Cubs over the White Sox 5-0 in the fifth. Reds with an early 2-0 lead over the Brewers in the fourth inning. And still to get started, you have the Pirates and Padres, Cardinals and Diamondbacks, Athletics and Giants, and Blue Jays and Dodgers. And was this meant to be a sneaky rivalry week? If you look at some of the matchups, because some of them, obviously Mets and Yankees just stands out. Athletics and Giants. Was this like the old interleague rivalry week with some of them, like the Red Sox and Braves, I guess you could say are rivals in a way. Cubs and White Sox, of course. Like Blue Jays get thrown somewhere. You got Marlins and Rays was another one that I noticed when I was updating this. It was like a sneaky rivalry week that we used to have when interleague play was still a thing. Now everyone just plays everybody all the time, but just something I noticed as far as the schedule got set up.
It looks that way, especially with some of those guys. And then, the big one for me, looking at that scoreboard and seeing how they've been playing, is Baltimore. Dude, I can't believe they come off of winning 3 in a row against Tampa Bay, and now they're up on the Phillies right now. It's just impressive to watch this ball club, what they're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you continue to do it. A big series again with the Phillies going on. Baltimore now 1 out away from getting another victory in that series. All right, let's look at your trade deadline again 1 week away. I'm going to go through the trades that have happened in the last week. And you just, right after this list, you just tell me 1 or 2 of them that you think have the biggest impact. Again, these aren't the sexiest trades. We hope to get some of those by the time we come back here next week. But the Orioles got right-handed pitcher Shintaro Fujinami from the Oakland Athletics. They give up a left-handed pitcher in Easton Lucas, who is in the minors right now. This is one of those names where I would expect the Rays to have made this trade, and they just know how to fix somebody. Because you look at the numbers that Fujinami has put up for Oakland, and it's not been good. 8.57 ERA and just under 50 innings pitched. A lot of that came when they had him as a starter. He was 0-6 with a 14.26 ERA. I know Oakland is a bad team, but that is not good. You're not going to win a lot of games with a 14 ERA. He did look a little bit better, and his stats looked a little bit better once he moved to the bullpen. And we'll see what Baltimore and their coaching staff were able to do with him. The Blue Jays get left-handed pitcher Genesis Cabrera from St. Louis for a minor league catcher. Cabrera was actually designated for assignment a couple days before, and that allows a team to kind of swoop in and try to claim them, and then you can make a trade if you want, and that's what happened in that situation. Atlanta traded for 2 relievers. They get Tyler Hearn from Texas and the former closer for the Rockies in Pierce Johnson. Miami, I think earlier today, got left-handed pitcher Jose Castillo from San Diego. And within the last hour or two, the Dodgers get Kiki Hernandez from Boston, kind of a reunion there for the Dodgers. The Red Sox will get right-handed pitcher Nick Robertson and a AAA pitcher in Justin Hagenman. So thoughts on some of these trades?
I think the big one for me, seeing that is what Miami did to get Jose Castillo from San Diego. I think that's going to be the most impressive. I'm shocked with the number, like you said, the numbers of what Fujinami was doing, and why would Baltimore go get a right-hander that's struggling so bad right now?
Again, maybe
That's a
they
big
they have seen something that the numbers, the simple
that,
numbers. We're gonna have a topic that you put on here soon, and maybe some of the
maybe
stuff they've
that's what I
seen
need to
with
do.
that.
Maybe I need to. I still have it loaded up. Maybe I need to pull up his name really
Mhm.
quick and see.
But yeah,
But I,
yeah, none of these really jump out. Obviously, Atlanta getting a couple relievers. They're really good at bulking up at a position of need. They did that with outfielders the year they won the World Series. We'll see what they can do here with these relievers. You got to expect that they won't be done. Again, nothing sexy has been dropped as of late. We'll hopefully have a ton to talk about next week. Also, some of the rumors that have been going on over the last couple of days. Obviously, we know about Shohei Ohtani. Talked about him for several weeks now. Will he or will he not be traded? Two interesting names that have been rumored to have been in contact with the Angels, and that is your Baltimore Orioles and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Two teams that I can tell you right now would only get Ohtani as a rental. He's not going to re sign with either of these two teams, but we know how deep the minor league system is for the Orioles. Diamondbacks, you got to think, are decent as well. Could they try to overpay in prospects to try to get Ohtani away from the Angels?
I you would think maybe that would be the smartest thing if they're going to unload everything and know they've got to rebuild and try to make a push. But I think the smartest one for the club to go to is he would have to go, I believe, to Miami. It just seems to be the right spot for him if that's the case, and he's only going to play 1 year.
Miami was not even on my
Oh,
thing.
I thought you said Miami. Did you
Baltimore and
not say
Arizona, man. Jeez,
Arizona? Oh,
you're so just lost in football world over
well,
there.
I'm looking at Fujiyami's numbers and some of the things I'm seeing with what I was doing.
We'll
So
talk about in a second. This was a rumor that I really liked, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier. Houston looking for what they said is a good old fashioned trade where both teams get better. That major leaguer for major leaguer kind of situation, not go for buyers and sellers. I think we will see more of that this year than we're used to. And then of course you get those ones where a team is interested in a player, and the team that currently has said player has zero interest in trading them, but we got to run with these rumors as we can. White Sox interested in Cincinnati Red Jonathan India. He's unlikely to be moved. And how about the Dodgers, who are enamored, in quotes, by Nolan Arenado, who isn't? But the Cardinals are unlikely to move him. Interesting to note that one of the rumors is that there are executives in Major League Baseball that do not expect the Mets to be sellers at the deadline, and they are not quite ready to give up. And a pitcher who is fantastic there for a couple months has struggled here in the last month or so. Mitch Keller could be a great rotation piece for a contending team, and the Pirates have said that they are interested in listening to offers for the young pitcher. I want to say Keller's 26 years old, so could really be a good back of the end rotation piece for a contending team.
Pittsburgh played quite well at the beginning of the season, so I'm
Mhm.
I'm surprised that isn't. But I think the bigger one out of the ones you have here has got to be uh, is the Mets with the executives. I mean, you've got Matt Scherzer where he has said he would be willing to be traded out of his contract, and this might be the big move for him. And
Mhm.
and he said that, and he's been in different articles. I believe CBS Sports had it out, and also Yahoo both said, he is willing to move. Why wouldn't you want to move to a place that might be a little bit better? You're 18 and a half games back. That's going to be hard to catch up in just, right at 60 games.
Score update for you. The Orioles, who were 1 out away from defeating the Philadelphia Phillies, have fallen to the Philadelphia Phillies after Bryson Stott doubled in Bryce Harper, and then Alec Boehm hits a single to left center to score Stott soon after, and that is how the Phillies come away with a 4-3 win. Again, the Yankees are not going to be able to take advantage of that because they stink and they're getting crushed by the Mets. But that's big for the Rays, who got to win earlier today. Again, we'll see what's going on with the trade deadlines. But something that you brought in on our show notes and you want to talk about is something all of these teams are really diving into, and that is really how sabermetrics and this whole Statcast era has changed the way that teams are looking at these players.
Yeah, you look at a lot of these guys, and even for the common person watching and trying to stay up on their teams, and they had a big thing today on MLB.com, and they were talking about Ronald Acuna and how he runs and what he was running this weekend. Average start off at and getting up to speed 28 miles an hour running down the baseline, and what those guys to do. And then they were talking about exit velocity, and so it got me to thinking how big Statcast has gotten. And you think about seeing these guys in the dugouts now, even these players that are sitting there with tablets, and they're looking at what this guy's doing. And now what we thought of a game of just looking at a little bit of average stuff, there's so much detail of, okay, where's this guy hitting, spin rate, these batters looking at the pitcher's spin rate, and just the categories are huge. My question is, how much of these managers are reading into these lineups? Because I know ball clubs get their lineups, I want to say, what is it, 4 hours prior to game time, 3 hours to game time. How many of these managers or statisticians do you have working for your ball club have this stuff pulled up for the managers right away?
Obviously, different clubs are going to do it differently, but you got to expect a lot of these clubs, especially a team like Tampa Bay, has a ton of people working. There's got to be binders that get thrown together on the daily to get batters ready for a pitcher and vice versa. So the pitcher kind of knows what they're going into. I know a lot of players also get into this, but sometimes you can kind of get swamped in the data and you kind of have to just reset your brain and just remember that you're just playing a game. And in the end, you have to focus on what you are doing. There's been a lot of times with hitting coaches where some hitting coaches will get their pitching machine set to basically simulate what the starting pitcher is going to throw that day. They can set it up with the correct arm angle and spin rate and velocity and where he likes to pitch it, where the batters can kind of get a look at what they're going to see from the pitcher. Other hitting coaches say, absolutely not. We don't want any of that. Thank you. We just want to focus on our swing and what we're doing and not overthink it. Because there are times the amount of stats that are out there now are mind boggling, and you can get completely swamped by this information. It's fun for us, especially if you're like me and you're a big nerd. I love listening to the CBS Fantasy Baseball cast because they dive deep into some of these stats, especially for pitchers and their whiff rates and the exit velocity coming off of theirs and swings and misses and strike percentage and they will go out and so and so pitcher really struggled today. He was 1.4 miles an hour slower on his average fastball. Like, you get so into the weeds with some of this stuff. However, sometimes these crazy stats that people have come up with can have underlying effects on why a player is struggling or a player has really breaking out this year. And you can go, okay, he's going great now, but the numbers compared to these expected numbers that the stats show aren't averaging out, and he's going to kind of regress to his average a little bit. Or, this player is struggling, but it's not because of his bad contact. It's just he's hitting it to fielders, and his exit velocity, as you had brought up, has been still really good. He's just getting unlucky and hitting it at fielders instead of finding gaps, and that will average out throughout a season. So it's always really fun to kind of look at some of this stuff.
Well, and so we'll get to a few of the people that I brought up, but we talked about Fujiyama a minute ago. what did they see in it? And so I brought up StatCast, and do you mind if I share? Let me
Yeah,
share
go ahead.
that screen, and we'll just look at that window really quick of what kind of what things look like. And you see Fujiyami right here, and all of this data. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. But it really breaks it down, and you look at maybe these are a few things that you're seeing. His whiff percentage, he's 88% right now. Percent of
Mm-hmm.
whiff rate it could be. Um, you look at he's got one of the lowest exit velocities, so nobody's hitting the ball hard against him.
Well,
Maybe that.
unfortunately, it's the opposite. 4% means that they are crushing the ball off of him. So they're missing a lot, but when they make contact, they're going ham on it. And a lot of that seems to be the speed of his fastball. And if you scroll up just a little bit, you can see the percentage of pitches that he's throwing, and it seems like he
Mm-hmm,
needs to get a few more breaking pitches in there. The sweeper just 5% of his pitches.
mm-hmm.
It's basically fastball, split finger, cutter, which for the most part are basically the same as far as what a batter can
Mm-hmm.
see. So I think he needs to
It,
change a little bit. Maybe that's what Baltimore's seeing.
yeah, and that's exactly where can they grow with him. So it was kind of cool to see that. And so we'll go back here to a few of them, and they talked about sprint rate and people getting up and going, and a couple of them really stood out. And we've been high on Ella De La Cruz from
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati so much in the last little bit. Right now, he has the best sprint speed in the Major League Baseball right now at 30.4
Dude's a
feet
freak.
per second. So, which was crazy. The other one, but he is not the fastest from home plate to first base, and that is Ji Hwan Bae from Pittsburgh at 4.05 seconds. So that's right at 29.6 feet per second. I mean, they break it down so well in that. You look at the big one that we see, and it's pretty much in every telecast anymore, and that's exit velocity. How quick are
Mm-hmm.
these batters hitting? Um, Aaron Judge, good, has what I thought one of the best swings right now, home run
Please
swings.
hurry
And
back.
yes, but his average is only 97.2 exit velocity, and his highest one of 116.9 miles per hour is only fifth best.
Mm-hmm.
Only fifth best. And that's behind Matt Olson, who hit 118.6, which is crazy to think about how you attack these guys. And you see them, if they're getting around the ball that quick, what do we got to throw? Where do we got to throw? And I think that's what these pitching coaches are probably trying to tell their players, how to attack these guys.
Yeah, and a couple of the other stats that you put on there is some of the stuff like slowest pitcher working with runners on and fastest, and that really comes down to the new rules going
Mhm.
on with the pitch clock and how many times you can throw over, and really can change the way that base runners attack some of these pitchers. So there's a lot of those hidden metrics that can really change the way some of these teams view players and try to address problems. And it's always really, really interesting. Obviously, most people just don't care about this kind of stuff. And that's why there's podcasts for it. And then others that just
Mhm.
straight up ignore it. But they're there. And it's really interesting if you want to dig into it. There's a lot of websites for it that you can go through. How about you hit us with some quick hits here for Major League Baseball before we get to some awards?
All right. So a few things that have I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that I came up with, and this was based off a couple of things I read. Can Shohei Otani hit 26 more home runs in the remaining 62 games to get 62 home runs?
100% it's possible. Would I predict it? Would I put money down on it? No, but it's very much possible. He could do it in far less if he continues to be as hot as he was earlier.
You just made the comment a minute ago. I put in Aaron Judge a few minutes ago. He has taken some simulation in the getting back and working in, I think, in a simulation of a 5 inning game. Is it a possibility that Friday we see him take on the AL East Baltimore Orioles?
I think it's too early Yeah, I think I'm hopeful he comes back at the start of next week's slate of games. Like, yes, you need him back because like the playoff race is slipping away a little bit, and it's a big series with Baltimore, but you don't want to rush him back and re-injure him. Obviously, I think the Yankees are going to use him as a DH only for a while and let him and build up. But I don't know. I'd love to see him back though.
Yeah, and especially with 9 games back, I would think that would be a smart move to hold off, especially now maybe with Baltimore losing tonight after having the lead. That's a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, Baltimore also had some momentum with Aaron Hicks, and he comes away with a strained hamstring. They put him on the 10-day DL and still dealing with Cedric Mullins being gone. Can the Orioles stay ahead of Tampa Bay and Boston and all of those guys? Toronto.
Maybe I'm a jaded Yankee fan, but a sentence adding "Can they keep their momentum?" and Aaron Hicks going to the IL is comical. Hicks is not going to slow down any momentum for this team. They need Cedric Mullins back, and obviously they need to be able to close out games. But obviously they were there; they were one out away from winning this game with both of them out of the lineup. So yeah, I think they can keep their momentum. And can a Yankee stop hitting ground balls with people on base? Just
I turned that game off. I don't even have it above
just
my
turned it
TV
back on
anymore.
because
So.
it was they were down 7-2, but they had the bases loaded with one out, back to back ground balls. Just gross. Anyways, go ahead.
Also, congratulations goes out to
Yes.
Scott Rowland and the crime dog Fred McGriff as they were inducted to Baseball Hall of Fame this past weekend. Only 2 to go in. I'm gonna throw out a few names to you.
Go for it.
Let me know if you think in the next little bit. I think the big one right now is
Are you asking this? So we're
so
thinking of who could
going forward
possibly
next
make
year.
it this year,
So
just
going in
this year. Okay.
So going into the 2024 season, there are some big names that are getting up there that possibly uh, not make it or do make the ballot. Let's start with the one that's going to be in his 10th season, Gary Sheffield. Does he make the Hall of
No,
Fame?
absolutely not.
So if he gets a chance, it will be down with a rider well away. In his 9th year, Billy Wagner. Does he make the
Wagner
oh,
is possible. I just pulled up the numbers. Again, you have to have 75% of the
mhm.
vote, and the fact that this fluctuates so much just boggles my mind, but it's the way that the writers work, I guess. But Wagner was at 68% last year. Can he get another 7%? I'm gonna say no this year, but he'll get in with his 10th, his last possible year.
Going into his 8th year, that'd be Manny Ramirez. I don't think
No,
he makes it ever, but
no.
I don't.
He's thrown in with the steroid guys. He's out.
Okay. Got a couple of 7-year guys, Omar Vizquel and Andrew Jones. Either one of
Vizquel,
those two names.
absolutely not. Jones was just under 60%. Can he? I don't think he'll make a big cut. He might move up a little bit, but we have some great first year guys on the ballot. I'm going to say no on both.
2 names that I think might have a strong possibility, and they're both 6-year guys. And one is Colorado Rockies, Todd Helton, and
Mm-hmm.
then your New York Yankees, Andy Pettit. I think with the guys in front of them year wise, I think these 2 almost definitely get in this next year.
Helton for sure, because he was at 72% last year, barely missed the cut. He will get in 100% next year. Not 100% of the votes, but he will get in for sure next year. Andy Pettit, again, he's part of the steroid group.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Pettit will not get in. He was at 17% last year. Pettit, he did it to himself, and it's sad to say because I love Pettit, but he will not be a Hall of Famer.
I'm going to real quick do these couple from 2 through 5. Bobby Abreu, Torrey Hunter, Matt Burley, Alex Rodriguez, Jimmy Rollins, and Carlos Beltran. Any of those names even get a sniff or a look at a ballot this year.
Beltran will get a sniff. I don't. He'll. I think it'll take a couple more years the way they do this whole setup. He was near 50% last year in his first year on the ballot. And I think he will continue to rise. Obviously, A-Rod has zero chance in the world. Burley was just at 10%. Torrey Hunter almost, he barely even was able to stay on the ballot last year. So the only two so far that you have listed that I believe, well, three. Billy Wagner should make it eventually. Todd Helton will get it next year, and Carlos Beltran would be eventually. So just one next year right now, and two down the road.
There are some big names that are going to be first year ballot eligible.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is one guy on there that has a strong possibility, if not in the low 70% getting in. I'll name them off, but I think the main one on that list has got to be Adrian Beltre. You've got Beltre,
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mauer, Chase Utley, David Wright, Jose Bautista, Victor Martinez, Jose Reyes, Bartolo Colon. Any of those names you think come out? I think the only one there has to be maybe Adrian Beltre.
Beltre is probably the favorite. I would love to see Mauer and Utley both make the Hall of Fame. Would they get in first ballot? Probably not. Again, writers like to keep those first year ballot guys to being people that are really special. I don't think that they are really seen as that. Beltre was fantastic for a long time. I would love to see Colon eventually get into the Hall of Fame. Colon was one of my favorite players to watch as well. But no, Beltre, I think, has the best chance of being a first year guy. I can see Utley and Mauer both making it. David Wright just had too many injuries. He was fantastic. Jose Bautista is only known for the bat flip, but he was a good home run hitter. I don't think he makes it either. So I think it's just three of those first year guys will ever get into the Hall of Fame.
And I did miss one name on that list, and that was Matt Holliday. I did not say Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
I think he might make it, but I don't think he makes it the first year on the ballot.
Next year is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the first year players that'll be on the ballot next year?
I did not scroll down far enough to look at that. No.
Okay, so I just did. And just yes or no real quick because it's really interesting.
Okay.
The first name, not will he be in the Hall of Fame because it's 100% yes, or will he be a first year Hall of Famer because I believe it's yes, and I believe you will say yes as well. The bigger question is, will he be the second player ever to get in unanimously? And that's Ichiro Suzuki.
100%. I think he gets on. I think there's going to be some, excuse my French, but some jackwagon that says, we can't let anybody go in with 100%. So
Yeah,
I think he's in. I think he's first ballot, and it's going to be quick. He will be, I think, 90% plus.
Jeter missed it by one vote in his induction. It was by somebody that just sent in an empty ballot. I could see that with Ichiro. He deserves to be 100%, though. He changed the game for sure.
What he did, not just in U.S. baseball, but what he did in Japan before he got here. So I think he's got to be one of the top players of all times to play the game, and kind of revolutionary how some of these younger players play right now.
How about a pitcher who finished with over 250 wins, over 3,000 strikeouts, and got a Cy Young Award? CC Sabathia. He'll be in his first year.
I don't know if he gets first year, but he's going to be early in his career. I would say probably year 2 or year 3.
And then the more interesting ones of will they ever in their 10 years get in? Just yes or no's real quick. Curtis Granderson?
I'm going to say no.
Same. Ian Kinsler?
I'm going to say no.
Same. Dustin Pedroia?
He was part of that home run series. I'm going to squeak it. He's going to be a late one. I think yes. I'm going to give him a yes.
I say no. Hanley Ramirez?
I'm I'm going to say yes.
He's a close one, but I'll say
Yeah.
no. Troy Tulowitzki.
Wow.
If he
Colorado
could have
play.
ever stayed healthy, he would be
Yeah,
100%
I
yes.
think, yeah,
I still almost say yes. He was really good.
it's going to be close.
How about Ben Zobrist? That's a fun one.
Listen, I always picked him up in
Yes,
any of
you
my.
did. That's
You
why I
you
brought him
know
up.
this. That when Zobrist was always one of those guys I had to pick up, and I just love the way he plays. I would say yes. He was a heck of a utility guy and got to play a lot of games every year.
And finally, he gets his number retired or just into the Hall of Fame for his team, King Felix. Is it just Seattle Hall of Fame? Is that what he's getting into?
He, I believe, is going to get his number retired here shortly, but
I couldn't
he is
remember if it was number or not. I know our buddy Wes is headed to that event, but does Felix get into the Hall of Fame?
not right away. I think
Yeah,
he
I think
does. I think he does, but I don't think he gets in
that's
until
fair.
probably year 3 or 4.
That's fair. Before we get into our weekly awards, I have not done this in a couple of weeks because the All Star break kind of got in the way. But let's get back. If I can find my buttons, everything's all over the
Uh oh.
place. Oh, it's because you're sharing your screen. There we
Oh,
go. I fixed it. I fixed it. Let's get back to chasing history. Luis Ariz, we haven't talked about it. By the way, I need to make a graphic for when Shohei Otani trying to chase Aaron Judge, and we'll keep track of that too because he is very much on pace. But not done this for a few weeks. Again, All-Star break really messed with the numbers. But going into this week, Ted Williams, back in, what was it, 1941? Did I have the year right? I need to put that on here so I remember. Was under 400, a rise below his mark at 378. During the week, Williams got himself closer to 400. What about Ariz as he gets going in his second half? Struggled early on in the week, couple of really big games. And Ariz currently coming into today batting 379. So right now, just 0.018 behind Ted Williams' pace. Can he catch up?
First of all, yes, you are correct. 1941 with that stat. I think the big thing is he's got to limit the over game. He's had a
And he
couple
went
of
over
overs
4
last.
today.
He had one middle of the week, then 0 for 4 today. Last week he had a couple of 0 for games. He's got to stay on pace where he's getting at least 2 hits, and
Yep.
I think he's got a chance, but it will be interesting to see where he ends up.
Totally fair.
Still got
All
60
right.
games. 60 games yet.
Long ways to go. All right, let's get to our weekly awards. Hit me with your standout batter.
For me, I'm gonna go with a guy, and not knowing a lot of as we were watching a lot of bowling this weekend, so I missed the weekend series. But Austin Riley, 6 big games,
Man.
10 for 25, 8 of his hits were for extra bases, 6 of them coming on the long ball, 16 RBIs. That's the big number for me this week that just popped out of the screen and said, I'm producing this week, and so no walks in that one. So that is my guy this one. It's Austin Riley.
Yeah, Riley, 16 RBIs in a week is pretty decent. That's for sure. How about Freddie Freeman for the Los Angeles Dodgers? The Dodgers really turning things around. They're now your leader in the NL West. Just played in 5 games. Was 11 of 19, 579 batting average. He scored 11 times, had 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and knocked in 7 runs and had more walks than strikeouts on the week. A 1.838 OPS for the first baseman, Freddie Freeman, who future Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yes,
I
agree.
think so.
All right, how about your standout pitcher?
For me, I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox pitcher, and Boston 6-4 over the last 10. They've really relied on him a bunch, but gonna give it to the reliever Nick Pivetta. He was part of that whole moving around and everything. 2 games that he pitched in, 7 innings he pitched, and had 14 Ks in his relief appearance. He has set a franchise record for the most strikeouts by a reliever, punching out 13 batters in 6 innings in the 7-0 Red Sox win over the A's last Monday.
Yeah, Red Sox keeping themselves in the playoff hunt for sure. Mine, how about the reliever for the Baltimore Orioles, who's been absolutely fantastic this year, Felix Bautista. By the way, it was not Bautista who blew that lead for the Orioles. He has been working a lot lately, so he had the night off against the Phillies. But last week, 4 appearances, he went 1-0 with 3 saves. So he got a win, and he closed out 3 other wins for Baltimore. 5 innings pitched, gave up 3 hits, 1 hit by pitch, and he struck out 9 batters in his 4 appearances last week.
Here come the Mariners. They're cutting into the lead. It's now 6-4.
There you go. Getting closer. Let's get in. Nope. Went too far. Let's get into our power rankings. We'll just go back and forth because, again, we've gotten to that point of the year where we are pretty similar.
Julio Rodriguez, 2-run home run. It is now a tied ball game, 6-6.
There you go. And you were just marking them as dead in this game.
I was. They were down early.
All right. Hit me with your top team, sir.
As much as I want to put Baltimore up there, I'm going to keep the top 2 the same this week. I'm going to keep Atlanta and Baltimore in this. I'm dropping Tampa Bay out. They have struggled 3 of their last 10 wins there, and so I'm going to move them down, and that's going to put the LA Dodgers moving up, and that's exactly Freddie Freeman with what he did. You said it. I mean, scoring 11 times, getting on base, and moving the ball around. I'm going to keep the Texas Rangers in the number 4 position, bump them up 1, and leave number 5 with barely staying in, and I'm going to say that Tampa Bay at 5.
You're a Baltimore everything fan. He's becoming an Oriole fan. He's getting locked in.
With the way they've been playing, I would sure like that.
I have the same 2 teams as you. I'm flipping them, though. I will keep the Rays 4th. And then Texas 5th. I almost thought about flipping them as well, but the Corey Seager injury worries me right now. I got really close to putting Houston up there in my top 5, but I really don't want to. I just don't. I can't. So those are mine right now, and now I can turn off this Yankee game because the bullpen has died. And not that it was close anyways, but it's farther away, and we don't need to talk about it any more than that. You are watching the R&R Sports Report right here on Facebook and YouTube. We are getting closer to getting more local stuff back in here. We're getting closer to, we always struggle to cut everything into a 2-hour show anyways, but we're getting closer to that point where it's going to be absolutely impossible. We want to hit more local stuff this year. We want to get more local coaches on, more local players, maybe get some more high school people on for sure. Because it's bad. I can't say certain words that I said when we were putting together the bunk bed today, and that's all I want to say right now. Back on focus for the local stuff. Alicia looks like she will be back on the show next week. Get us ready for the fall season, and then after that, we'll try to get some more LC players and coaches on, as volleyball is like 3 weeks away for LC. Football is getting ready to get into their preseason stuff. I know I'm waiting to figure out what high school teams that the Tribune wants me to help them with this year for their preview. Start to talk to some of those coaches as well. It's going to ramp up very quickly here on this show.
I told you earlier, just off camera, that already talking sports, and both you and I calling sports for radio stations. It's going to be quickly approaching. We looked at the Clarkson schedule, football coming up. We've got a Thursday night game. The Bantams are going to get to play, I believe, Rogers on Thursday at the new stadium on September 22nd, I believe.
Hmm.
I'm not 100% on that date, but I believe that is a game that'll happen up at the new stadium up there. But yeah, lots of stuff going on there. But yes, Haley, I did bring up, as Randy and I both came together, that was just right after the back-to-back home runs. So I didn't poke and prod at him either.
I don't talk about it. I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing has happened in this game. Actually, I had not even really looked at the Lewiston football schedule. Is not working at the Tribune anymore. It's kind of out of my radar. They once again will start their season with a team from a different state. They'll be taking on Woods Cross High School from Utah in that Rocky Mountain rumble that they have kind of been a part of. Of course, the big game for us will be the Lewiston Clarkston game on September 8th. Once I need to look to see if volleyball plays that day or if I can actually go watch it this year.
Well, I talked to a little bit about different games going on already. You said it a few minutes ago. The schedules are just crazy. The volleyball girls have their big camp this week, and so they hit the road running pretty quick right away. And so looking forward to getting those things called.
Oh yeah,
we'll be back
good.
calling.
Elsie is
So,
out of town that week, so I can go watch that game.
yeah,
There you go.
so it's going to be an interesting one. I think I will be calling that game from the top of the press box at Bengal Field.
Yeah, that's where you belong.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Sports related draft. I came back as a victor last week with the best male. Was it the male PBA bowlers last week? Is that what we did last week? Okay.
Yep.
And that was your topic. I came away with the win. Now, let's look at it this week. A lot of teams have been throwing out these retro jerseys that they will be bringing back this year. Kind of something that went away for a little bit when the NFL regulated that players had to have the same helmet all year long, and that kind of took away your retro helmets. Now, as safety has gotten a little bit easier for them to put into these helmets, the NFL has kind of relaxed on those rules, and we are getting some cool jerseys once again. So that is where our topic is today. What are the best NFL throwback jerseys that are scheduled to be worn in the 2023 season? I will throw it out there right now. I had to make a change on mine. And luckily, it was my last pick anyway, so it didn't hurt anything. But I love the 90s San Francisco 49ers jerseys. Everywhere I saw it was saying that they were bringing them back, but I cannot find anything as to say when and at what time they're going to do it. So I took them off my list because it could have just been the list saying these were really cool retro jerseys and we want them back. But nothing has been officially announced by San Francisco. So while I love those jerseys and like that shadow block lettering that they had, I took them off my list, but a good honorable mention just in case they end up showing up this year. But it's my topic.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the first pick.
Well, there was a lot of ones to pick from, but I think the main one has to be, just because of his area history, it's got to be those Seattle Seahawks, the Royal Blues with the there you go. The royal blue with the silver helmets trimmed out in the green. When I see this uniform, there's three names that pop up in my head right away.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be top 3 receiver of all time, Steve Largent. You also have to think about Jim Zorn, Kurt Warner, Kurt with a C. See, we get it the right way. Cortez Kennedy. And
you said 3 people and you just named 5.
I haven't named the last one, and that's Dave Craig too. So I mean, there's a lot of them that pop out, but Kurt Warner and Zorn and Largent have to be when you see this uniform.
All right.
Even Sean Alexander, I think, even wore this uniform.
Okay, so the only reason why I will agree with you that this is the great throwback is just for the fact that their current jerseys are horrendous. I can't do all the neon green that is going on with the Seattle Seahawks jerseys. So I welcome their throwbacks because there's no neon green anywhere. There's some green, but it's normal green.
So when I talk about this, so when I teach and everything, the art teacher has me go in and talk about my color theory. And I always bring up that uniform. Their color rush uniform to me, because of my color blindness and all that, looks yellow. And I tell my daughter Tori all the time, that's yellow. No, Dad, that is like neon green.
It's brutal.
Looks yellow.
You're lucky that you can't see how ugly the real color is, and it's just yellow to you. All right,
Yeah.
for me, I go back to my younger days and watching the football, kind of what you're bringing up with the Seahawks teams that have moved location and kind of had to change their look because of it. How about the Tennessee Titans? They used to be the Houston Oilers, and I love that they're coming back with that kind of look. I'm still not 100% sure of when they do have this uniform, if they will have the whole Oilers logo, or if it'll just be kind of the scheme of this jersey. Obviously, somebody had fun doing this mock up with the new wide receiver Hopkins in the old Oilers jersey, but that's a clean. You know me, and I love the baby blue stuff. I love when the Chargers do the powdered blue. So bringing back the Oilers old look. I think that the Titans should just go back to this instead of their dark blue look. I think they should go more baby blue. So to me, this was my easy number one pick.
It's a good one. It reminds me of Earl Campbell and what he did down there. So it's a very.
You think they're gonna have the tearaway jerseys like Earl Campbell had?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they can do, but it's a solid pick there. For my second one, looks like the line, and it's true because
less silver, but yes.
You got to remember, Haley. So a lot of those uniforms early on there was only like 3 colors.
Yeah,
and that was a
lot of the same.
Yeah, a lot of the same. For me, has to be the Kelly green of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's my second pick. The gang green. Now I don't think I'm gonna enlarge your screen for me to look at it. That does not, to me, really show the Kelly color. The one that I saw was a lot brighter.
They have not. This is another one that they have not. They've announced, but they have not shown off that I could find anywhere. So I had to find something close.
Yeah, it looks close, but the Kelly green I'm thinking of has got like a lot brighter. The era of Randall Cunningham, number 12, running around with that eagle on the side of his on the shoulder. It's just really cool, and watching the players like Reggie White and Mike Golick wearing that jersey, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's another one that when you put on there, it's not one I thought of, but I get it and it makes sense. And that's only because when I came up with this topic, I had 2 instantly in mind, was hoping you weren't going to steal one, and luckily you did not. A lot of people made fun of this jersey a long time ago, mostly because of the skill level on this team when they wore this jersey was really, really, really bad.
I think Billy Kite has one of these jerseys
because they are amazing. Another team that needs to go back to this look is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bring back the creamsicles. I love this jersey. I love this color. I love the whole setup of it. I'm so glad that they were bringing it back. Creamsicles for life. I love this setup. That's my second pick.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that almost love to hate. That was kind of what everybody thought it was.
I hate to love it.
Yeah, it's just one of those colors. It's like, okay, what do you match up with it? I mean, it's a Buccaneer and everything's orange part, but
yes,
for me, when I saw this jersey years ago, there's only one game that stuck out in my mind, and that was really before I dove into NFL football. Yes, it's peach. It's not. Yeah. Is the New England Patriots red, the bright red with the helmet? I think the helmet is the one that
the helmet really sells it for
brings it all. It's the old school Patriot snapping the ball of the Minutemen and all that. When I think and I see this uniform, first thing I think of is William Perry jumping over the line, score a touchdown in Super Bowl 20. That's the first thing that pops in my mind. Next thing is Walter Payton not getting a touchdown in the Super Bowl and never getting that notoriety there. But you see that uniform, you see that helmet. That's the first thing that pops in your mind is them getting defeated in Super Bowl 20.
To me, the jerseys do nothing for me, but it is the helmet. Again, that's the logo that I grew up with for the Patriots. Obviously, I think most Patriots fans would like to forget that logo because it's the other logo that has brought them so much success. But I just like it. I like the old school logos. We've had fun with that before here on the show, and that really works. Again, I was going to put the 49ers here, but I can't find anywhere where they've officially announced that they are bringing back that 90s look. So I'm going to go with a bit of a homer pick. And part of the reason why I brought up this topic, because it just blew up all my social media as a Jets fan, and the Jets going back to the logo and the look that I saw growing up. Obviously, I was not around for the sack exchange, but I saw them more in the 90s with the logo. And that's just the Jets' different style look. Obviously, the white uniforms look clean. It goes completely opposite of their black and their dark green look that they have right now. I really still have a soft spot for this Jets logo. I'm pretty sure I would have to go back and look. I don't know if he finally got rid of it. Haley might know. I had a blanket from when I was a kid that I still have that's torn to shreds at this point. There's not a lot left to it. That was this logo. So I love this look. It's absolutely fantastic. I love that the Jets announced it by basically doing the old sack exchange photo for it. That's what I love about all of this, is just paying homage to the teams of the past. Yeah, we still have it around somewhere. So I love this logo. So while I love the 49ers look and I wanted to put them on there, I have no problem going homer here with my last pick.
So the only problem I have with this jersey is it doesn't look a ton change. I think the biggest part is, and it kind of boils down to the same thing I just did with my pick. It's the logo on the helmet. I think that's the biggest thing with both of our third picks, is it comes down to the logo there. And I do like that logo.
I will say that the throwbacks, when they would go back to this logo, were a lot different a few years ago when they had the circle logo with the white helmets. So then when they would go back to this, that would be a big change. Now that their new logo kind of mirrors kind of what they're doing with what they had in the 80s and the 90s, it doesn't hit as hard, but I do like this old logo. So there you go.
And I'm kind of the same thing. As I like the current Baltimore Ravens one. I'm not a big fan of the one from 97, 98, 99, and even 2000 with the funny emblem and
that's interesting. I like that for Baltimore. I liked, because that was the whole Maryland thing. It's like even the Maryland college does the whole emblem setup, and I really like that for that. So there you go. Let us know in the comments who wins this week's sports related draft. It's an interesting one, but who will be having the best throwback jerseys this year? For Robert, he has the Seahawks, the Eagles, and the Patriots. I have the Titans, the Buccaneers, and the New York Jets. Let us know in the comments below while we move on and do some more rankings. It shocks me, as I was getting notes ready yesterday, that we are 2 weeks away, sir. Just 2 weeks from having to make our first locked in division predictions.
Yeah, it's crazy
how close we are to all of this. It's insane. But we have our top 5 running backs coming into the season this week. We'll do our quarterbacks next week. Oh, that's rude. That's rude. That's rude. She just doesn't like old school jerseys, apparently. That's just me.
So Haley, did you see the newest one? I showed Randy earlier. Have you seen the Denver Broncos alternate helmet that they are going to come out with 2 games?
What we picked is better than that. By the way, I like that the Jets are doing this old school look on 2 primetime games early on in the year. They start the season with that old school look against the Buffalo Bills on the Monday night game, and then week 4 Sunday night football against the Kansas City Chiefs. They will also bring back that look.
So here goes your other picture that might throw you back.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos are
Do you,
calling the snow-capped helmet. This
would
is
you
their
rather
alternate.
have that?
Listen,
No, thank you.
we didn't even talk about the Orange Crush. I mean, is the Orange Crush going to happen and have a throwback jersey game? I'm not sure.
We'll see. A lot of stuff to look forward to this year. Let's look at our top 5 running backs here. I will go ahead and go first. To me, it's Christian McCaffrey at the top. He got moved from Carolina to San Francisco, had a lot of big moments for the 49ers now with a full offseason with that team. If he can stay healthy again, which he did last year, people need to remember he played every game last year. He is absolutely phenomenal, both as a running back and as a receiver for that team. Same kind of a style for Nick Chubb. A lot of people are thinking that the Browns could be a sleeper team this year. They are only that kind of a team if Chubb continues to be a top-notch back. So give me him as my second pick. He had over 1,500 yards last year. Not as much receiving, but we'll see with what him and Watson is able to do with a full offseason between them as well. Josh Jacobs, a player who was in a contract year last year and balled out, and they really didn't, you know, throw the bank account at him because you just don't do that with running backs anymore. Can he do it again with a whole new offensive scheme, a new quarterback, and Garoppolo? He was one of those bell cow backs. We talk about that with Derrick Henry, who had nearly 350 carries. Jacobs had 9 less carries than Derrick Henry last season. I do have Henry still fourth. At some point, this man is going to break down and slow down and finally hit that age where he's not a successful running back anymore. We thought that was 3 years ago. He's still running over fools, and until he stops, I'm going to continue to put him in my top 5. And my 5th running back, I think a lot of people are down on him because he had a great year in 2021. Everyone picked him number 1 overall in their fantasy drafts last year, and then he got hurt, missed 7 games, really struggled after that. And that's Jonathan Taylor, who I think, if he's still healthy, or if he comes back healthy, he's going to have a phenomenal year, talent-wise, one of the best running backs in the league. So McCaffrey, Chubb, Jacobs, Henry, and Taylor. Those are my top 5 running backs coming into the year.
I can't argue with number 1, Christian McCaffrey. The numbers that he put up, and you hit it right. He's going to have a full season with San Francisco out there. I think the biggest thing for him is as well multidimensional he is. He can receive the ball in the backfield. He was one of only 2 backs that in our list of the top 5 that actually had touchdowns as a receiver, and he had 5 of them last year. So I can't argue with that one. And also Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is the same thing. Over 1,500 yards on 302 carries. He is going to be, I think, a little bit better now with Watson having one big full season. Now, do they get a little bit better relationship and they know each other, what they're going to do? I think that's going to be a huge thing. I think Nick Chubb produces a little bit more, and he gets a few more receiving yards. I could see him easily being close to 500 yards receiving this year. For me, then, you said it, Derrick Henry. When is this guy going to quit? I think now with having the new target there with him in Tennessee is going to help out. With Hopkins maybe taking a little bit of the pressure off of the run game, because they were able to stack the box against him. And Derrick Henry still put up over 1,500 yards with them putting 8 in the box. So, and only really having 1 game off, played in 16 games. He is a workhorse, and he's going to continue to be. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. So I have him third. So you have Josh Jacobs third. We flip-flop here. I put Josh Jacobs here in the number 4 spot, but a lot depends on how things progress over the next few days. As today he was seen leaving Las Vegas and getting on a plane and heading out. He is not at camp. They did not come down with a deal. So it's been noted that he is not planning on participating in any of this until something gets done. So it'll be interesting to see what ownership can do. But Josh Jacobs could easily be up there number one, number two with these guys if he could become that workhorse. And but it's all going to boil down to the Raiders get a deal done. I'm not one of the namesayers. You're saying that doubting Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to have a fantastic season off off of what he did this last year with the injury. But I'm going to pick your boy, and I'm going out on a limb because he was putting up some crazy numbers last year and what he was doing. And I'm going to put Breece Hall in the top 5. You look at his numbers. Yes, he played in 7 games, then got hurt. They shut him down. In the 80 carries, he was averaging 5.8 yards per carry. They have a decent offensive line now that's blocking quite well, opening up holes. And if you don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to make this kid better, you guys are wrong. I think Breece Hall has a fantastic season as long as he stays healthy, comes back from that injury. So I'm going to give him the nod, top 5.
I will say you're a year ahead of schedule there. I do think the Jets want to ease him back after his ACL tear. That's why I still believe that they are possibly the front runners for Dalvin Cook. It all really comes down to the AFC East, it seems like, as far as who is going to get him as a running back. But the Jets are still in there, and everyone I see online, why? We have Breece Hall. Like, yeah, haul off an ACL. You don't want to give him 300 carries. You get Cook out there, and that's a great two-headed monster. So while I absolutely love Breece Hall and watching him live was fantastic when we went to Lambeau Field, I just don't quite think he is quite up there as far as top 5. But I hope you are correct in that, and you can prove me wrong later, because that would mean the Jets are going to be a really, really good team. Lots of NFL news. We will try to quick hit here in a fast manner, as fast as we can go. We like to extend things a little bit. But Dallas Cowboys and cornerback Trayvon Diggs agreed to a 5-year extension worth $97 million. Brock Purdy was cleared to practice from his elbow injury. Do you think he starts week 1?
It will be interesting, but I think he's got a chance, but I think it's going to be Trey Lance over. I think it'll be Trey Lance over Brock Purdy.
If Purdy's healthy, it's him. But
it'll be interesting.
See. Nick Bosa not expected to practice until a new contract is reached. That could become an interesting storyline down the road. A lot of defenders that hold out and don't go through all the way through training camp. They come up with injuries. Once they do return, we'll see how that goes. Chiefs Kadarius Toney underwent surgery to clean up cartilage in his knee. We'll see if he is back week 1 or not. I'm sure Chiefs fans are not fully worried there. Cool story here with Jimmy Graham returning to New Orleans for a 1-year deal. I kind of have a suspicion this is more of just a retirement deal. I don't know if he plays a lot for the Saints.
Yeah, and that's exactly the conversation I had this morning with the guy helping me on the roof. He says, I think he's just bringing him back for a 1-game contract, and then he retires after his first home game.
Absolutely. Saquon Barkley did agree with the 1-year deal with the Giants for $11 million. There was a bunch of different incentives as well. We will see what there goes. The Giants also get Cole Beasley and James Robinson. Good luck with James Robinson. He was signed and released by the Patriots within a week. They went, never mind. With him, a couple rookies get contract deals. That's good. You've already brought up Josh Jacobs, but Jimmy Garoppolo passes his physical. So is he going to play all 17 games for the Raiders this year?
It'll be interesting, but I think he's going to have a lot to prove in the first few weeks of camp and see how that foot is after being gone all of last year.
Sad news with Naheem Hines. He's going to miss the entire season after getting injured in a jet ski accident. He was parked on his jet ski and another jet ski came in and ran into him. So that's disappointing. He'll miss the whole year. Another team that could possibly be in there for Dalvin Cook. His brother already plays for the team. Baltimore brings in Melvin Gordon. Does that change your season, sir?
It's going to change a little bit because they're J.K. Dobbins again hurt, going to start the season on the PUP list.
And then finally, yes, Washington has new ownership. The Dan Snyder stuff finally went through. And stop it. You put in these notes, new names. We don't need any more new names for Washington.
They've already talked about it. Magic Johnson has hinted to it. He says they want to get rid of everything that said Daniel Schneider on it. So what better way? What better way to become the pigskins or the red tails?
My
one of them.
Database for our bowling league based on the NFL cannot take another name change. I finally got this thing nailed down, and they're just trying to blow things out of the water. I can't do it anymore. What name do you think they're going to go with?
If they did it, how would it be to be the pigskins? It'd be funny. I don't know.
This is horrible. I hate this. I hate this so much.
We did miss one other thing, and it happened just prior to airtime, and that is Justin Herbert of the Chargers agreed to a 5-year deal extension worth $262.5 million.
Shows you the impact that Taylor has. He made a joke about Mahomes, and I knew he was talking about that deal, and then I just figured we talked about it.
Yep.
That's where we are at. Let me just quickly update a couple things here real quick. This is
make sure you fix mine.
This is close enough to where we stand right now. So here's your scoreboard update. Couple of finals for you. Yes, my Yankees did lose to the Mets 9-3. Phillies we talked about with a walk-off win over the Orioles. Angels do win it in 10 innings over the Tigers, 7-6. Getting close. Mariners just need 3 outs to take out the Twins. They lead 9-6. Astros holding on to a 4-3 lead over the Rangers. That one is in the 9th. Actually, it has just gone final. So once again, my scoreboard cannot update fast enough. I do my best, people. It just doesn't work. Cubs with a 7-3 lead in now the bottom of the 8th inning. Red Sox with a 4-1 lead over the Atlanta Braves. That's a big upset if they can pull that off. Rockies and Nationals started late. They are now currently on a delay, and the late games getting going. 2-1 Padres over the Pirates, and tied between Toronto and Dodgers, all tied at 1 apiece. All right, let's get into it. We have our first guest in months that is not a guest host, and that is mostly because neither of us really follow the sport of soccer, the Women's World Cup going on right now. 2, even though I think both of us want to watch a bit of this World Cup, we were both out of town this weekend, so we brought in our friend Sean Garmer to come on. He is the big soccer expert, so we're going to rely on his expertise to school the masses on what is happening over there in Australia and New Zealand, and what the U.S. soccer team is getting on. Sean, how you been, man?
Doing okay. It's good to be talking about sports again. Been a while.
Well, we're talking soccer. It's close. It's close to sports. We'll get back into the sports with Aussie Rules football talk here shortly, but it is the World Cup.
Okay.
It is the World Cup. So, and the U.S. got off to a pretty good start in their pool.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a convincing win, but you can't really complain about a 3-0 win at all. The person that's being tipped as the breakout star of the tournament. Sophia Smith got 2 goals. Lindsey Horan got the other one. It's also against debutantes Vietnam, so make it that what you will, who are being very defensive and kind of just hoping that the U.S. wouldn't score on them. We'll see in their next game that they're going to play tomorrow night against the Netherlands if we're finally going to see the U.S. kind of come out and be the U.S. that we've seen the other U.S. teams be. This is a transition team for the U.S. right now. You don't have the big stars that you've had in the other World Cups. You have some of those, right? Alex Morgan's still there, Julie Ertz is still there. But it's a lot of like young faces. Trinity Rodman's leading the line. And then some kind of veterans that have been there as well. So, we'll see what kind of. A lot of people are still picking the U.S. to be favorites, and if you are just watching the Fox broadcast, which they're super biased anyway, you would think that this is going to be a rollover tournament, and it's not. This is the closest that the levels that the women have been all around the globe, and we've seen that with some other teams. It's amazing to think how many men's World Cups Brazil has won. They've never won a women's World Cup, and they already looked amazing against Panama in their first game. Japan looked great. They actually are winners. They beat the U.S. In 2015. I want to say no, not 2015. 2011.
Don't ask us.
So no, 2015 was the revenge where the U.S. won, but yeah. So I mean, and then you've had teams like England who are. They won the Euros last year. They're supposed to be another favorite. Yes, they have a lot of injuries to players that, if they'd been here, maybe it's a different story. But Haiti's a debutante as well from CONCACAF, and they made England look bad at times. But England still pulled one out and won. But it's not always been a what you expect kind of thing with this World Cup, which has been interesting too.
I've seen a couple of highlights just here and there and you said it a little bit, was the defense of Philippines against Colombia was very aggressive. And I was noticing the same thing in a highlight with the Korean Republic. Does those guys over in that area, the way they're taught, are they just more of a defensive minded game where they're such strong attackers on the defensive side?
Well, the Korea Republic game that you're talking about, I mean, I think it just comes to, you see it with most of the Asian sides, right? They're very disciplined defensively. That comes from how you're coached, how you're taught, and then you do have the stars that go forward and do attack still. The Philippines players, they're kind of playing like on the counter, sort of. They're playing to, okay, we're going to make it to where you can't score on us, but if you mess up, we're going to be right there to score. And they did do that and surprise New Zealand, which that's got to be an embarrassment to New Zealand. Look, New Zealand is not a powerhouse by any means. They just won their first World Cup game in the previous round against Norway, who are also former World Cup champs. And that's amazing, right? But when you look at that and the way that they were able to beat Norway, and there was times where New Zealand looked way better, the other team, and you're playing against debutantes Philippines, and you have so many chances to score, you don't put one away. That's what's great about soccer, right? Is when those chances don't go in, the other team has that opportunity to get that one chance, and it does go in. And that's what happened for the Philippines, right? They got the one opportunity, and then they got to have their first World Cup win ever. So that's amazing too. Like, just look at that. 2 rounds, you get 2 first ever World Cup wins.
So we look at tonight's later in the morning slate. Well, that situation where the World Cup is on the other side of the world, and
right,
the timing gets a little bit wonky as far as trying to watch some of these games. Tonight you get Japan and Costa Rica. You're just talking about Japan kind of being a favorite. Is there any chance of staying up late and watching an upset in that one?
I don't think so, because Spain already humbled Costa Rica. Obviously, Spain's another one of the top teams, but I definitely think that's a 2-headed monster group. Do I think Costa Rica can maybe score a goal? Maybe, perhaps. Zambia did score one against them. It's just it got called back for offside. So that's the thing is VAR is being heavily used in this tournament as well. It's already one thing I will say that I love about this tournament that I really hope moves forward into not only other tournaments, but I really hope, I don't know if you guys know that VAR was adopted in a tournament at first, and then it became adopted in all of the leagues, right? MLS was also one of the first ones to use it. So I hope that that they use an NFL system now where they have to tell you why they made the decision that they made. Which before it was
Okay.
just, oh, we go to the monitor and then, oh, hey, here's the picture box and oh yeah, penalty, whatever. Now the referee has to explain to you, oh,
No.
this is a penalty
See-
because this happened.
See, I still say
Yeah.
we need to all go to the Aussie rules football system
Yeah.
where the guy says, all right, we're going to the replay. And then we hear the discussion between the
I
replay
think
guy
that's the
and
next
the
step.
referee. I think that is fantastic. This is what I saw. This is why I'm doing it. Now I'm putting the result up there. I like that more. You talked about Spain. They play, I guess, technically early tomorrow morning, Pacific time, 12:30 p.m. By the way, Robert, if you want to get your gambling on, if you would like to vote or bet on Spain, you can bet $150 on them and you can win $1 back. That is how much of a favorite they are against Zambia. That's at 12:30 a.m. Canada takes on the Republic of Ireland at 5 a.m. Pacific time.
Mhm.
Just looking at the odds, that looks like a much closer game there. And then the United States back in action tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time against the Netherlands. What should American fans be worried about most about this Netherlands team?
The Netherlands team they're not a powerhouse. They're missing Minima, their best player. She was injured before the tournament. So the US kind of lucks out on that, but they still have a pretty strong team. I think if you're the US, you still expect to win this game. I would not expect 3-0 here. I would expect 1-0 and maybe it's late, as we've seen from Denmark and Sweden already, where they got late goals in the 86th and 89th minute. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's just one of those like early second half goals, and then you kind of hold on. The U.S. has not been like world beaters leading up to this. So I would think you're going to see maybe more of the U.S. that we've seen in the lead up to this World Cup. 1-0, maybe you get the 2-1, something like that. Netherlands is not going to go away. They're a feisty team.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think this is going to be the closest one of the 3 games you're going to see the U.S. play in this group phase.
All right, and then a couple of questions for you. We'll try to get you back on, especially once we get to the bracket phase of this tournament. But we need a prediction here. A couple days into the World Cup, who's the champion? Who's your runner-up? What do you got right now?
Oh man, wow! You're putting me on the spot here.
You're the expert here. You should know. You should be ready to go. We make predictions and stuff all the time. We don't know anything.
Don't know anything.
Well, it usually plays out that way too.
You know what? Man, I think this could actually be a World Cup for Germany. They looked really good in their first game, and I think Alexander Popp, who had a really good shot at making Germany be the Euro champions last year, they haven't lost much from that team, whereas England did, and I think we're going to see a little bit of the foul. Some of the quality that's going to be missing from the U.S. I think we're going to see that in the knockout round. So I'm going to tip my hat to Germany, and I'll say the U.S. loses in the final. Maybe.
There you go. Real quick before we bounce you off of soccer, real quick. Messi now in MLS. Can he bring popularity to the sport mainstream wise here in America?
I'd say he's already done that partly. I mean, look at this Miami team, right? They're 2-0 with Messi. They just beat Atlanta 4-0 right now. They won their first Leagues Cup game, albeit with a Messi late winner that felt like it was ready for the Magic. And he scored 2 goals in that Atlanta game, by the way, as well. So he's already off to a flying start himself. Every time he scores, every time he does something, that is automatic viral news. And look at the increase in MLS season pass subscriptions. It went up 3,000 already from when he's joined, right? Like
to be fair, I also have a MLS season pass because I go through T-Mobile, and
I also have one
free.
too because I have one through T-Mobile. Okay,
I need to still turn this thing on. I've yet to use it.
But I know I do think there's so many people around the world that are just Messi fans.
Yeah.
And this is not like the Saudi Arabia League where Cristiano Ronaldo went over there and you still have no way to access it. This is accessible all over the world. This is a deal that now the NBA is trying to go after, right, with Apple, where we could get global rights, where anybody around the world, all they have to do is have an iPhone or have a computer or something that can get onto an Apple TV, and you could turn this on, right? So that makes it to me where, yes, if there's any time between Messi being here, Copa America being here next year, which Messi would also play in, for, the US is going to be involved in that, the World Cup being here in 2026. If there's ever a time for the soccer to go somewhere in this country, it is in this period where Messi is here and the World Cup is going to be here. And if they screw it up, it ain't happening.
It's never going to happen. It just kind of shows you, though, where different organizations are looking as far as getting their product out there, right? Talking about MLS teaming up with Apple and putting that whole season pass with their Apple TV stuff and trying to promote themselves that way. You said the NBA is looking that way as well. The NFL is moving their red zone to YouTube, of all places, and Major League Baseball is still closing you out if you live too close to a stadium and you can't watch that team. But it's interesting how different organizations are looking at that differently. But before we let you go, sir, we need your help.
Okay.
We have not had anyone vote on this just yet. We have a sports-related draft every single week.
Okay.
We need a winner. So you don't get to get our full spiels because we got to get to our other stuff. So we won't go fully into it. But our topic this week is the best NFL throwback jerseys that will be worn in the 2023 season. Okay, I'm going to pop this up here for you and let you know who each of us picked as I hit buttons.
So I have to decide which one of the two you picked is better? Is that what...
So let me get them all up here real quick. We each drafted a team of 3. That is how we do our draft. And you have to pick which team is going to be the better group. So Robert took the Seattle Seahawks jerseys. He took the Philadelphia Eagles retro jerseys and the New England Patriots. I took the Tennessee Titans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers creamsicle jerseys, and the New York Jets old kind of 80s and 90s look that they are bringing back. So out of our teams of 3, which team do you think has the better throwback jerseys out of our groups here?
Damn. Y'all make it hard because
we try.
The creamsicle and the Oilers jerseys are absolutely fantastic, and I love those.
Absolutely.
The old Eagles jerseys, obviously being a Cowboys fan, it's like you had to look at those every day. Every
the gangrene. There was the gangrene, man, the Kelly green.
So and the Seahawks jerseys, I mean, like those are the Seahawks jerseys I remember, like not the ones that you see now, So
the Steve Largent.
I'm actually kind of partial to those old Patriots jerseys. So I'm gonna pick Robert because he has the
well, have a good day, Sean. It was great to see you. Just get out of it. No, and I told Robert this when we were first breaking down our teams. I'm partial to those Seahawks jerseys too because there's no neon green on them. They're just so much better than their current jerseys that it works. But no, I get it. So we will give the win to Robert Hagen this week. It snaps my huge 1-week winning streak. But that's all right. I'm still leading overall. It's all right. I will make it up to you on Sunday when I rant too much about Final Fantasy 16. So before we get
there's never enough ranting about Fantasy 16. So.
Before we get out of here, I would be remiss to not allow you to plug your stuff, sir.
These days you can find me on the W2 Network YouTube channel doing video games to the max, which Randy has guested on many times. And thankfully he's going to be on again this Sunday to talk about Final Fantasy 16. So if you like video games, you can go check us out over there. I've been having a lot more guests lately, so it's been fun. Also, and just I write about reviews. I write game reviews as well on Formula Mania and other places. So there you go.
Like you said, he used to do all sorts of stuff with the soccer and footballs and all the different sports as well. So he's kind of focused things in, and it's been hopefully a little bit easier on your schedule than what it used to be when we first launched W2Mnet. That is for sure. But Sean, very much glad to have you on. Kind of give us the expert look at the World Cup, because neither of us have had a chance to really watch too much other than highlights. Again, once we get to the knockout stage, maybe we'll have you back on and kind of break down what we've had on. But I appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean Garmer, the soccer extraordinaire. I mean, it's close to a sport. We'll give him that. But let's get into some stuff. We'll get into the quick hits real quick before we get into Aussie rules football and stuff. The news that came out today, very scary stuff. LeBron James' oldest son, who a lot of people are thinking could be a top NBA draft pick. It's so my N64 shelf looks so empty over here because we're moving and I had to empty it. Thanks for bringing it up, Haley. Rude, but no, the Bronny James stuff. I don't know if you've seen a lot of that, but went into cardiac arrest during practice yesterday. He's in stable condition, out of the ICU. It's actually the second USC player that has went into a cardiac arrest over the last couple of seasons for that team. Just hope he is doing okay. I know a lot of people have instantly turned this into a political battle and a vaccine battle and whatever. I don't care about any of that. I don't care what your stance is. We just want this young man to get better. It's a very scary situation, whether he is the son of a famous basketball player or not. You just hate to see any of this stuff. I know, Robert, you as a coach of JV, obviously you've been lucky enough where you haven't had this serious of a situation, but any injury or any health scare has to really wear on you as a coach, right?
Yeah, especially, I've dealt with concussions with a few players. One major broken leg where it broke the growth plate. So I've seen some nasty things over the 10 years that I've coached, and head injuries and all that. And the biggest thing that scares me is having AEDs and having those equipment. When I brought it up the other day, we don't have one close enough. Ours is about 300 yards away in a building. And if I'm not there and don't have my key, or the other head coach doesn't have the key, it's hard to, it's not close to our shed. And so we talk about that. What kind of things do we do to bring those in? And so it's a huge thing, especially after Hamlin's whole issue this last year. The world kind of stopped, when that happened on national TV, and it became a huge thing. So thoughts and prayers go out to Bronny James.
Absolutely. And just another news item that came up today: Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh could be facing a 4-game suspension for breaking NCAA rules over improper contact with recruits. A person with knowledge of the proposed settlement between the school and NCAA enforcement said on Tuesday. Obviously, the investigation is still going on. The decision making is still going through its process, but we will get into some college football predictions here in the next couple of weeks. But if Harbaugh misses 4 games, do you think Michigan has any chance of making a college football playoff push?
I think if they lose even one of those 4 games, it probably hinders their chance of making a push for a championship.
Sean, first off, thanked us for letting him on the show, and then told me that a soccer is more of a sport than baseball. So he has been banned. He has not only been banned from the R&R Sports Report, his vote has been flipped.
No,
surprisingly, because his opinion's so poor that I ended up getting his vote. So I will win the sports-related draft. That is just a horrible take by Sean, and we apologize for his improper sports takes. We'll just go with that. No, Sean's a great dude. All right, let's get into some Aussie rules football. The game of the year, really, when it came down to it, regular season wise, the top 2 teams, Collingwood and Port Adelaide, it lived up to the expectations. Was a really, really close contest. Collingwood, pulled away in the standings with a close 85-83 win. Melbourne had another close win with Adelaide 97-93. We don't need to talk about Hawthorn. Why is Aussie Rules football 4 quarters and not 3? All Hawks supporters want to know. The Hawks were up by 30 in the fourth quarter. They lost that game. It doesn't matter as far as their finals hopes go, but it does change things up a little bit with Richmond. We'll get to that in a second. Do you want to talk about your Cats? What the heck happened there?
I did not see. I have not seen it. I have it scheduled to watch. I even have the Collingwood game.
You can
I haven't
ignore
watched
it now.
yet.
You can ignore it. Don't worry about it.
Listen, the biggest one, and we talked about it last week, was going to be Collingwood and Port Adelaide, and seeing the score has lived up to the hype of it. I can't wait to watch that one here soon. So, Collingwood 5-game win streak right now, and now 2 games out in front of Port Adelaide. They're going to be a tough team.
Absolutely. And when you look at the ladder right now, we're racing towards the end of the year. What, we have 4 weeks left?
5 weeks.
5 weeks left. We're getting really close. Again, as a Hawthorn supporter, I don't care because we're out. So we're trying to figure out playoff scenarios. It's easy for us. We're out. Doesn't matter. Nothing's happening. But you look at it, a couple changes. Geelong still in the top 8, but they've dropped down to the 8th spot in a 3-way tie points-wise with Carlton and Richmond, and Carlton only a few percentage points away in that tiebreaker. That could get interesting. Sydney comes away with another big win. They keep themselves in it. To me, we could come down to the last week with a ton of teams still with finals implications. It is starting to look like the top 4 are running away, with the Magpies, Power, Lions, and Demons kind of separating themselves. But it's going to be those other 4 teams right now, the Bulldogs, Saints, Giants, and Cats, that are in it. But I would not be shocked if even 3 of those 4 teams are not in the finals once we get done with the regular season.
Yeah, 100%. And just
watching how much we should bring back the cheesy victory stuff as background music here. I'll work on it.
Even just with Geelong dropping 3 spots, I think that's the big thing. And watching those percentages change, it's going to be a interesting 5 weeks as we get into week number 20 this week. Collingwood takes on Carlton. Another, Carlton is in that spot that they need a win. Could they be enough to knock off the Magpies?
Yeah, it would be a really interesting game. Geelong should have an easier time with Fremantle. That's a good time to watch Aussie Rules football, 8:45 p.m. Pacific time on FS2 on Friday night, if you want to check that out. Also, the big battle for the spoon on the line, West Coast and North Melbourne. Right now, North Melbourne with a 1-game advantage. West Coast wins that game. It could get interesting down the stretch. North Melbourne wins. You can just go ahead and hand it off to West Coast. Real quick, because we got 3 minutes left. The Open was this weekend. As predicted, I wasn't able to watch as much as I would have liked with everything going on in Spokane. But congratulations to Brian Harman for kind of running away with this tournament. He took the lead on Friday, really pulled away. What was it, a 6-stroke lead, I want to say, going into the final day, and just kind of hung on and hung out and ended up only leading by a couple of strokes, but never really was. His lead was never really in doubt, and give him credit for not blowing it at the end. But congratulations to him.
Yeah. Third tournament win, first win since 2017. So, and it's his first major, a little bit of a dry spell, but hats off to Brian Harman and what he's doing this year.
Also, shout out to Joel Damon. He ends up, where did he, I forget where he finished, top 10, right? He kind of dropped off a little bit.
He finished tied for 10th in the Tahoe Mountain Club, the Barracuda Championship.
Yeah, they have the Sable for scoring, so it's a little different setup. What is it? +2 for a birdie, -1 for a bogey, and different stuff within there. He was in contention for a while, struggled near the end of that tournament. Still, it's a top 10 finish for Damon. He has struggled over the last couple months. Looks like he's starting to get things figured out a little bit. Congratulations to him. The 3M Open is next week, and Tony Finau will be there. Hamlin won at Pocono. I did not even update the stats because I hate the Pocono racetrack, and Hamlin ended up wrecking Larson and got completely booed by the crowd as he came away to get that win as well. But we got big news in the MMA scene, especially locally.
Yeah, locally, some bouts have been announced for Conquest of the Cage up in Airway Heights in about 3 weeks, actually 3 weeks from 3 or 4 weeks from tomorrow. It is a Wednesday. Dimitri Morales will make his pro debut and take on Matt Main. So we're going to reach out to Dimitri. I know he's training right now, but reach out to him and see if he'll join us for a few minutes next week and talk about his professional bout.
Yeah, it's very, very cool that he has gone pro as well. Watching him and his last fights over there at the Clearwater Casino was so much fun. He had the fight of the night for sure. So excited to see how he does in his professional debut. Plus, we get another fight over there at the Clearwater River Casino. Was it October? November. So we will have to try to get tickets for that as well.
It is November 5th because that's the one that George Laughlin, our buddy George.
That's right.
It is an LC matchup. They are taking on College of Idaho that game. I did look at volleyball. So I'm hoping volleyball's at 4.
Never mind.
So I'm hoping volleyball's at 4 so we can get out to the fights by 7.
It's senior night for volleyball on that night.
Oh. It's a Saturday, so we could cross our fingers.
It's senior night. They start at 5. So it's disappointing, but that's okay. I've already had issues with the schedule for LC. I'll talk about it off air. But it's neither here nor there. It's been another fantastic week. Again, thanks to Sean Garmer for hopping on and being a guest and telling us all about the Women's World Cup, excuse me. Don't forget USA plays tomorrow against the Netherlands. Go check that out. Next week, we should have Alicia Alexander and talk about her new role at LC State. And she is in between trips. Literally, she gets back from one trip on Monday and she leaves on Wednesday. And it sounds like she will try to fit us in her schedule. Again, we'll try to get Dimitri on as well. Try to get him on next week. Again, trying as we get into August, get into the local sports, try to get more guests on. We also have our top 5 quarterbacks next week and talk all about baseball, sports-related draft, and everything else in the world of sports. But it's another fun episode, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting me and the other bowlers up there in Spokane while we fail the Valley miserably. We'll try again another date. But until then, that's Robert Hagan. I'm Randy Isbell. This is the R&R Sports Report. And until next Tuesday, we are